Welcome to Live Life Better Derbyshire's Healthier Pregnancy programme. Today's session is body changes during and after pregnancy. So hello, I'm Katie and I'll be leading this session today. You need a pen and paper if available. Grab yourself a drink. This session is about an hour, give or take, and pause as and when needed. At certain times we have included pause points so you can explore what we're talking about, what that looks like for yourself. It just makes it kind of real for you. And if you've got any questions at all after the session, do reach out to your healthy pregnancy advisor or come along to one of the coffee and chat sessions where we can discuss it or chat about what you want more information on with the group. Thank you. So here's today's session overview for body changes in pregnancy. We are going to be looking at normal body changes during pregnancy and after. How to feel better about the body changes, and we're going to introduce 4-step Embrace Your Body plan at the end as well. So let's start by introducing today's session. So during pregnancy, your body will change and adapt to support the growth and development of your baby, as well as preparing your body for the birth of your child. So understanding some of the changes you can expect and having some tips to help embrace those changes could help support a healthy body image, and that's what we want you to try and get from today's session. So first of all, let's dive into normal body changes to expect during pregnancy and beyond. Let's start having a look at what physical changes you may expect to notice through pregnancy and after pregnancy. So your body will change as your pregnancy progresses, as it makes space for baby to accommodate your developing child. Your weight will increase. There is a chance of getting stretch marks where your body has expanded to make room for your baby. That happens quite quickly, and that can account for why we get stretch marks during this stage of life. So your breast might change size and shape, and this will happen potentially whether you're breastfeeding or formula feeding. Your joints might ache, or you might get pain in your joints. So the ligaments around your body will loosen as they start to get ready for labour and to allow the space for baby to grow. So the ligaments get looser, and because of that, we might get painful joints. Similar reasons might lead to a change in foot size. Yeah. Your womb expands slowly during pregnancy and can take up to 8 weeks after labour to return to its usual size. So they're just a few physical changes to expect. Have you had any other changes, or are there any other changes you can think of that you might encounter during this phase? So take a few minutes now just to think about what physical changes you might have noticed. Next, we're going to explore emotional changes. So throughout pregnancy, there are also a lot of emotional changes going on, which you might have noticed. These are just a few examples here. It's not kind of an exhaustive list by any means. So emotions feel stronger during this time because of the hormonal changes and fluctuations. There's coming and going of different hormones at different times, and that can feel like a lot at sometimes. So emotional well-being can sometimes be overlooked for the physical aspects and changes going on. So we might not be prioritising our mental well-being during this time, depending what that looks or feels like for you. You may feel positive about your pregnancy, or you might feel worried or anxious, or a mixture of both. That's any and all of those are normal. So physical changes to how your body looks can then affect your feeling towards yourself. That can happen in pregnancy or after pregnancy. Can be a time when to just be mindful of how you think and feel about yourself and your body. So you might feel sick, fatigued, or tiredness, and all of those aspects can have an impact on your mood and how you want to show up in your day. Your hormones may also vary in each stage of pregnancy, so your mood will alter and the chances of mood swings will change depending on what stage of pregnancy you're in. Understanding that we can't always control our feelings, but talking to someone might help. And also, it's just worth noting, if you have low or negative feelings that persist over a few weeks, please speak to your GP or midwife to just get some support with managing your emotions and your mental well-being. If you feel like you need any support currently for your mental health, there is a link here that we've put in that you can scan using the camera on your phone. That will take you to the NHS information about mental health in pregnancy and after pregnancy. But please do reach out to your midwife who can support you specifically. Your own midwife will know your situation, your circumstance. So please do give them a ring if you feel like you need support with your mental health. And just take a few minutes now to think about what emotional changes you've noticed as well. So pause here for a few minutes and just make some notes about what emotional feelings you might be going through, or anything that you feel is impacting you during pregnancy that you weren't expecting. Just have a little moment to check in with where you're at. So next we are going to move on to look at how we can feel better about the changes that are happening, and let's dive in. Everyone feels differently about their body, and pregnancy can be a time when societal pressure may subside. The societal pressure to look a certain way may subside, or you might get other feelings of your body changing, not knowing or feeling like yourself anymore. It can vary for everyone. So we've got this quote from Tommy's website, which refers to post-baby body. So you may have negative feelings about your post-baby body, or you may not worry about it much at all. Some people feel a sense of pride that their body has changed because of all the hard work of growing a human. There is no right or wrong way to feel. So it's just a little quote that we pulled from the Tommy's website there to start us thinking or being mindful about how we feel, to try and generate some positive feelings about our body during pregnancy and afterwards. So if you want to pause for a few minutes now and just make some notes about how you feel currently about your body and how it is changing during pregnancy. So have a few minutes just to explore that for yourself. So in this session, we wanted to touch on how we feel about our body during and after pregnancy, to support people that might not feel themselves anymore, or not as good about ourselves once our body's changed than we used to. It's just worth exploring. Everyone's experience for this will be different. So yeah, it's worth looking at, because the Mental Health Foundation has done research in the last few years which identified that more than half, so that was 54%, of women aged 25 to 34 who had been pregnant felt more negative about their body image after pregnancy compared to before they were pregnant. So we want to identify ways we can try and embrace our body and the phase and stage it's been through, and acknowledge how amazing it is in so many ways within a session. So that's why we are exploring this within the Healthy Pregnancy programme. We're also aware that after childbirth, the pressure can come back in to people's lives to look, be, or dress a certain way. So that may be one of the reasons for the decrease in feeling good about their body after the baby has arrived. So yeah, it's worth some time to build in and get some tools to love and appreciate what our body's going through and try and focus on that at this stage, which will then also be useful after you've had your baby. So what is body image? This quote came from the Mental Health Foundation. So body image is a term that can be used to describe how we think and feel about our bodies. So now we know what body image is, going to look on this slide and have a chat about what can affect how you feel about your body during pregnancy and beyond. So there are many factors that might come into play. These are just a few that we're going to go over now. So if you have a think alongside what we're chatting about, whether there's anything else that has an impact on how you feel about yourself, your relationship with your body during pregnancy, or generally anyway. So the people in our lives can have a big impact on how we feel about ourselves and our image of ourselves and our perception of how we should look. So that might kind of come from comments made or conversations we have regularly, any judgments that are passed or that we pass ourselves to ourselves and others, people having opinions, or just generally the language that is used within our day-to-day chat with certain people or with ourselves. And people in our life, we refer to kind of anyone we have in regular contact with, having interactions with. It could be people we're close to, friends, family, it might be co-workers, colleagues, it might be someone we see at the bus stop every day. You know, any contacts we have regularly with people in our lives. So another thing that might have an impact on us are social attitudes and beliefs. So this might be an external pressure to look, act, or be a certain way. And I think in pregnancy, there is more pressure to conform to certain things as well. So consider what attitudes we might perceive people to have, or beliefs that we have or those around us of things we should or shouldn't be doing during pregnancy, how we should be presenting ourselves, and an expectation of how to show up at this time, whether it's that we should be feeling happy and feel glowing, and then if we aren't meeting those expectations, we might think there's something wrong with us. So that just having an inquiry about what attitudes and beliefs exist in your environment that you kind of take into your daily life. Next, we're going to chat about magazines, news, media generally, social media as well, and the fact that we are seeing a lot more of the lives of celebrities and famous people. So yeah, we get a lot of our input from external sources, such as the media and all those things I've just explained or gone through, which gives us an idealised version of life, often unrealistic and very often filtered and curated to show a certain thing or infer that you or life should be a certain way, and that's just generally not realistic. That isn't always the case, but it's what we are being told repetitively in certain media outlets, such as social media and social media platforms. So yeah, just be mindful of the curated highlight reel that we do get, and the also repetitive narrative that we need to look or be a certain way. And lastly, we've put on there healthcare professionals and expert opinions. During pregnancy, you might be accessing appointments more regularly and having more contact generally with different health professionals depending on your needs. And your experience in these settings will differ throughout each visit, depending where you're going. And hopefully, we hope that has a positive influence and you don't feel judged, but that does come into play sometimes within the medical professional. Weight stigma can occur, or it could be opposite, which is hopefully more encouraged these days. Having a more health promoting positive body image and conversations that are more useful rather than weight stigmatized. So yeah, that can have an impact on how we feel about ourselves and our bodies during this period of your life. So is there anything else that affects how you feel about your body, that affects your body image or has an impact on it? Either way, just have a think what external factors might influence how you feel about yourself and your body during this time. So now we've looked at what might affect how we feel about our bodies externally, then we can take action or think about ways we can maintain or improve our body image or boost it. So here are just a few suggestions, that things that might help you, that are worth trying. So we've suggested talking to someone that you trust, that makes you feel good, to share how you feel. Open up to people that you do trust and that do promote in you that kind of safe space, that someone you don't feel judged by. They are, talk to them and explain how you feel them. So being mindful or reducing your screen time, or just considering how you use your phone, your access to the internet. social media or news, and try and maybe reduce the amount of time on that. Think about how you could change your habits around your phone maybe to promote something that's a bit more joyful, that'll bring a bit more positive energy to you rather than negative. So it's not always helpful, all the information we access through our phones or through social media. And can you replace then or find something else that you enjoy doing, or something else that will boost you, that will be more helpful spending your time doing? We'd advise or suggest to unfollow anyone that makes you feel negatively about yourself. You and only you can notice how your interactions with other people, whether that be in real life or on social media, impact you. You know, you can, when possible, either unfollow if it's on social media, or choose not to look at certain content. Yeah, just have an inquiry into who you're following, who you're seeing a lot in these environments, especially online and on social media, and how can you stop seeing that person or that account as much. Then you can find positive role models to swap that with, that can or could help improve how you feel about yourself and your body. So that might look like accounts that have diversity in their imaging and narrative, aren't idealizing a certain way to be or look. That is helpful in allowing us to embrace our uniqueness and our differences, rather than feeling like we all need to look or be a certain way. Being active is really helpful in connecting to our body and our strength, and understanding the things our body can do, and is really good overall for mental health. There's been quite a few bodies of research, especially in the last few years, that is identifying that how useful exercise is, moving your body in a way that feels fun and good for you. Obviously being mindful of pregnancy and taking into account looking after yourself and your bump. So yeah, finding a good way, a fun way to be active that makes you feel good. If you want some more information on being active during pregnancy, speak to your advisor. We have physical activity support within our service, as well as a session like this that we've done on moving more during pregnancy, and yeah, that gets you kind of thinking of what that might look like for you, and yeah, it might inspire you. And what the last tip we've put on here is to focus on or think about how your body functions. So that's body functionality instead of how it looks. So we're going to look at that a bit more in just a minute, and explain what body functionality is. So have a think now for a few minutes, what could help improve how much and how well you look after your body, how good you feel about it during pregnancy and beyond. So this will kind of support and maintain or boost body image ongoing, changing some of these behaviours that we all often do on a day-to-day basis. So body functionality. So body functionality describes everything your body is able to do. And it suggested that focusing on what your body can do, what it's able to do, its strength, how it functions, can help in boosting how we feel about our body, because we aren't just focusing on how it looks, we are also focusing on what it's doing for us all the time. So body functionality leads into this idea of having a positive body image. So what do I mean by that? So it includes appreciating all features of your body, its functions, its unique qualities, and overall health and well-being of your body. So really seeing yourself as this whole thing, not just looking or being perceived a certain way, not just the external features. It's the idea of accepting and loving your body, even when you're not essentially or necessarily, fully satisfied with certain aspects. It doesn't mean we can't love and accept and embrace who and what we are anyway. It is about seeing or encouraging people to see the term of beauty more broadly in yourself and in others, which can promote a more positive body image. So that's the idea that I was saying earlier, why having more access, seeing varying body sizes, shapes, doing different things at different levels is helpful, because it can just broaden our perspective on what we class as beauty and what that we shouldn't all look or be a certain way. So the last point on here is filter the information you consume. Again, just like we've mentioned. So we need to be mindful, and we need to start filtering the information that's coming in. If that is more supportive, informative, factual, it will actually be more helpful to us overall. So we can take on board more of those sources of information and try and make or consume less unhelpful or negative sources of information, whether that be magazines, whether it be social media, whether it be news outlets, whether it be certain people we're interacting with or certain groups. So just it's the intention to be mindful about, a bit more mindful anyway, about what we are consuming, what we are taking in, and what we are understanding as fact might not necessarily be. So getting more trusted sources to rely on, and in turn that will be more supportive and helpful. Okay, so the social media has already had a moment within this session, so I don't want to go on about it too much, because it can be a really helpful tool. So we're going to look at how we can be healthier with our social media use, but it can have a big impact on how we feel about our bodies, and that can be impacted more so during pregnancy, because our emotions are more susceptible to what's going on in the outside world. We are more affected by what's going on because of the change in hormones and the fluctuating moods that we're going through. So it's worth noting that the average usage time for women aged 20 to 34 is about, or it can get up to 2 to 2.3 hours a day. So that's quite a lot of time we are absorbing information. That can be from unhelpful sources. It can be from things that aren't helping us feel better about ourselves and about how we look and how we feel about our bodies. And it is known that social media can have an impact on our mental health, self-esteem, self-worth. Not only that, it can affect our sleep depending on when we are accessing it, and obviously, like I've been saying, how we feel about ourselves. It can have an influence on our thoughts and our beliefs and on what we think about the world around us. So yeah, it has a big impact in our lives. So it's worth having a moment to think about how you use it and whether it's helpful or unhelpful or not. So we can, and there are lots of ways we can take control about how we use social media to make it more healthier and more helpful for us. So yeah, limiting the amount of time spent online and on social media apps, as we've already noticed, as I've already mentioned, sorry. And it's worth noticing how you feel when you're using them or after you've used them. So how are you feeling? Is there a sweet spot that you go on initially and it can be quite useful and you feel like it's nice and restorative potentially, and that might slip into not feeling that way anymore quite quickly? So notice that. It might be useful to put some boundaries in place around social media, and that can look different depending on when and what you want to get out of it. So that's important to start thinking about. What is it you're going on it for? What do you need from it? But then also putting some boundaries in place, like when you use it, how long you use it for, something like that. So an example of this would be no social media for the first or last hour of the day. That's an idea, something I try to honour myself, but it's not always, doesn't have to be perfect. Just an intention of how you can protect your self at those times of day when we can be susceptible to the information we get first thing in the morning and last thing at night. We're very tired, we might be on it longer than we intend to be, we can't switch off as easily then, and can have an impact on sleep and so on. Sorry, let's just move this down. So having a day off a week might be a suggestion for you, or a bit of time break from social media or your phone. Make sure you are starting to curate your social media feed. Don't be scared to unfollow people that leave you feeling uneasy, unsatisfied with yourself, that you're missing out on something, that you need to be or have or do something else, or just generally in a mood or a slump overall. It can generate strong feelings of comparison. So when we're comparing someone's kind of seemingly perfect existence, then when we think, oh gosh, it's quite unrealistic what we're seeing, and yeah, it can leave us feeling like we are needing to be different to what we are, and that can have an impact on our mental health. Try and find accounts or people that are fun, informative, supportive, and inclusive. One or all of those things. Make sure you're getting something out of the time you are giving these accounts. The information you get is important as well. It needs to be useful. It needs to be correct. A lot of influencers that are now on social media might not be giving the accurate or right information to a very big group of people, women, a lot of the time, especially in the case of pregnancy and body image. The information they might be getting might not be factually correct, so just be mindful. And there's obviously look for pregnancy related content that is factually correct. So accounts like Tommy's, the NHS, Pandas, NCT are a good kind of view if you want to make sure what you're seeing is correct and supportive. Then they are good accounts to start to follow or look at as a first port of call. So we've covered a few things there on how to make your social media a bit healthier. And just maybe it might be worth adding at this point that finding good real life connections can be really useful and supportive. Use social media platforms as a supplement, not instead of kind of getting those real life experiences, going to see someone, ringing a friend, or even texting someone, or going to find a peer group in real life. That's why we've kind of set the coffee and chat sessions up. So there we've got a place for connection with peers that are going through the same, similar, or varying experiences that we can all just share and realise we're all in it together, kind of thing. So I think that kind of rounds up some suggestions for healthy social media use. This isn't exhaustive. Think about how you can make your experience and time that you spend online or on social media right for you. And it's just worth reminding yourself that posts are generally curated, filtered, or manipulated in some way. It's not always real. Very rarely is what we're seeing on a lot of big content real. Try to avoid doom scrolling, especially during stressful situations, or if you're feeling stressed or stressful, we can overconsume. It might be worth trying to turn off any notifications you get through certain apps, or turning off the likes we get. We go on, we want to see how many likes we can get. Turn those off. Like, go on, share what you want to share, or interact how you want to interact with in your own way, in your own time. We are sometimes at the mercy of a notification, so switch those off if you can, or try and reduce them as much as possible. Any other ways you can adjust your social media to make it healthier for you? Have a moment now, think about what we've talked about, and if there's anything that you've felt would be helpful to you. Have a few moments to consider that. So obviously in this section we are considering how we can feel better about ourselves, about our body, and how it's changing during pregnancy. And this research here found that self-compassion meditations were helpful to some expectant mums to improve their satisfaction during pregnancy and beyond. I've linked it here, and this is the full research, which is interesting. So self-compassion is when we respond to our own struggles with warmth rather than criticism. And specifically, self-compassion meditation allows, or is a meditation style that creates space for you to cultivate kindness and care towards yourself and the moment or experience you are in or going through. So yeah, that was found to be helpful in some cases. So because of that, we have found a link to a meditation. I will share it on the next slide. So if you're feeling like you'd like to try this, if it's something that you're interested in, this link will take you to a page on Derby Hospital's website, which links to, just scroll through it and you'll find the self-compassion meditation. So give it a try, see if you can show yourself some care, respect and kindness to yourself, your body, how it's changing, what it's doing during this time. Yeah, you might find it useful and helpful. Now we are getting to the Embrace Your Pregnancy Body toolkit. We wanted you to have something to take away from today's session that you can embed into your own life. So we've covered various bits and bobs in this session today, and we want you to be able to pull out a couple of steps that you can then take into the rest of your pregnancy, so you can embrace your changing body during your pregnancy, but that can also be there to support you beyond, as and when needed. So there is a supporting document for this session, which you can fill out as you go through the next few slides. You can ask, if you've not got it already, you can ask your advisor to send it over to you. You can fill that in as and when you're ready. It's quite self-explanatory. If you've followed the session, you'll be able to fill that out afterwards. Or you can just make notes somewhere that you can use as and when needed. So we're going to create your Embrace Your Body toolkit. So this toolkit has 4 sections or steps that will support you to embrace your body anyway, but also during pregnancy, which is the phase you are in. So yeah, there, as I say, you can use the document if you feel like it, or if you've got it to hand. If not, just make notes or go through it as we go through the sections. Now we're going to explore each of these steps in more detail in just a minute. So we'll be exploring how to reduce unhelpful outside influences, so limiting those things that aren't helping how we feel about ourselves. Then we're going to make a feel good list, things that you enjoy, make you feel good, boost your mood. Then we're going to move on to noticing unhelpful self-talk and how we can acknowledge that, challenge it and replace it. And then lastly, we're going to see how you can focus on your body functionality and strength and the amazing things that it is doing. So let's go. Step 1. So in this section, you are focusing or thinking about how you can reduce the unhelpful outside influences that may be present in your day-to-day. So this will look different for everyone because it is solely based on your own unique situation. So what I want you to do is consider what factors or what external influences make you feel less satisfied with your body. So I say less satisfied or feel less happy with your body, whether that be pregnancy or just generally. So we are thinking about the people we spend time with, the places you go to, the accounts you follow, or the certain platforms, their adverts, magazines, etc. So what can you identify that has an impact or a negative impact on how satisfied you are with your body during pregnancy or just your body anyway? So, and then I want you to think about, once you think about what those things are, I want you to think about how you can limit this and what actions you might need to take to reduce those. So pause this here, take a few minutes to explore this section or this step for you. It might be that you want to focus on just one thing at a time. Be realistic about the changes you might want to put into place, what's doable for you in your current situation, what's going to be most helpful, maybe. So yeah, have a minute now to have a think about that and think about what actions you need to take to make that happen or change that thing up. So next step is to make a feel good list. So make a list of things that make you feel good and that are supportive and positive to boosting your body image and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your pregnancy overall. So identify and make a list of all the things that make you feel good. So it doesn't have to be all the things. We might be here a while, depending. But just some things that you find or could find supportive of a positive body image and have a positive impact. So whether that be finding role models in real life or online, finding ways to improve your body that feels good, using trusted sources for advice. So these are just things that will be able to boost you as and when needed. It might be being around more the people in your life more that are open-minded that you can talk to, or it might be finding ways to relax your mind or process your emotions. For example, the meditation that we shared on the few slides earlier, or talking to someone. So have a minute or a few minutes now to think about things that can boost your body image and how you feel about yourself and your body during pregnancy. And then you can add to this as you go through. So you might, just realise, oh gosh, yeah, that's really helpful. Oh, I found that really supportive. Actually talking to that person has been helpful today. I'm going to do that again. It might be your advisor in healthier pregnancy. We try and be neutral and supportive where we can. That just leaves you feeling good about where you're at, about what your body's doing, etc. So keep adding to this section as you go through so you can notice the things that radiate, add to your well-being and how you feel about yourself and your body. So step 3 is notice and challenge unhelpful self-talk. So it's worth noting here that self-talk is like an internal dialogue that we have with ourselves, that is our self-judgment, maybe some beliefs we hold that we might be saying consistently to ourselves. We might not even notice we're doing this. So this can have a significant impact on how we think and feel about ourselves, because we are often in our own thoughts and feelings and beliefs, obviously. So it's trying to notice what we're thinking or saying to ourselves, that negative chitter chatter that might be in the background, and because they shape our conversations, they shape our approach to our experiences, they shape our mindset, and the self-talk we have with ourselves can either empower us and be helpful, or it can hold us back and be unhelpful with getting us to where we want to be. So positive self-talk can be helpful, and that's where we would like to evolve to. If we notice any self-talk that is negative or unhelpful, then we want you to try and challenge it. Like, is this true? Am I really thinking that? Do I actually believe that about myself? And also then we're trying to replace it with a new thought or belief. So yeah, it can be, it takes a lot of awareness for that to happen, but it's worth starting to notice it and making a log of it maybe. So if you notice that you say something that's not helpful or not supportive and probably quite critical of yourself, notice it. You could either note it down somewhere, you could challenge it. Do I really think that? Am I really that? And then what could you say to yourself instead? So notice what you think about yourself, challenge it and replace it. So that's what we're trying to do in this with this step. What are you thinking and saying about yourself to yourself? Is your inner critic bullying you? You know, it sounds quite harsh, but that's basically what we do to ourselves sometimes. We challenge these thoughts by acknowledging and questioning them. Is this the truth? Often it isn't. And then we can help with this by choosing the language we use with ourselves internally and externally with others in conversations, trying not to be self-deprecating or saying things negatively about ourselves or to others, and catching that. So ideally then, leading on from this, once you've noticed what you say, challenged it, you can put a new thought in. So take a moment now to just try and think or explore if there is something, just like one thing you might be saying that is unhelpful self-talk. Notice that, and what could you say to yourself instead? And this is something you might want to keep building on and noticing over time, and something we can do just in the background all the time is notice our internal chitter chatter, and the impact that might be having on how we feel about ourselves, our bodies, and where we could adjust this bit by bit to become more helpful, or even just neutral at first. Neutral language is a great start. So have a few minutes now to explore that. So pause the recording and then start when you're ready. Then the last step we are going to do is focus on bringing that concept of body functionality and body strength. So what functions are happening that we can focus on instead of the appearance. So here's some examples. My body is doing or can do, kind of giving you that starting point. So what are you doing? What is your body doing? Or what can it do? Which is allowing you to live well or be here or do things. My heart is beating, it's keeping me alive. My muscles are keeping me strong. My lungs allow me to breathe, so it's all the practical side of things that our body's doing all the time. We take for granted, and we're just instead blaming it for not doing, or you're not looking a certain way, when actually all this is going on. my body is growing my baby and keeping it safe. My body is preparing myself for labour or for my baby to be born. So what is your body doing? Explore that and catch yourself. We'll always kind of have a moment where we criticise or notice something we're not happy with, but could we kind of compound that or add to that? But it's doing this too, So even if we do notice, like, oh, my arm's flabby there, but then we could be like, but it allows me to be strong. I've got strong muscles. Counteract that kind of initial knee-jerk reaction to notice what's not so good. Can we then add something to it as well that is going well, that our body is doing nicely for us, keeping us alive and well? So explore what body functions you could use to focus on. It might just be one thing. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be exhaustive. It can just be something that you go, but my body is doing this and it is amazing. My body is, protecting my baby. My ribs are keeping my heart and lungs safe. Examples there. So just, even if you just pick out one thing you can focus on to think about the function of your body, not how it looks, and use that, that's fine. So pause now, have a few minutes and see what you want to focus on. So here we have an example of the 4-step plan for someone. So step 1 is reducing outside influences. I have unfollowed lots of celebrities on social media that made me feel unhappy about how I look. And then number 2, the feel good list. I have made a list of all the people, and things that make me feel better about my body. 3, challenge unhelpful self-talk and language. I noticed the negative and judgmental thoughts I have about myself and challenge them. Is that true? What could I say to myself instead? Things my body can do. So I focus on the job my body is doing. It is creating a baby and getting me ready for the delivery. So yeah, just a few examples there, a bit of a just round up of what your 4-step plan might look like. Now that brings us to the end of today's session. So we've looked at our body changes in pregnancy, how we can feel better about them and how we can embrace them. So what are you taking away from this session? Hopefully we've led that last little section at the end so you've got something to take away. But what could you start doing? How could you reduce feeling negatively about yourself if that comes up? And is there anything you could continue doing that's already going well? So just have a think of that. But the toolkit there at the end does encapsulate the session and give you something to take forward. So that might be enough for you to concentrate on for now. If you have any questions about anything that's come up or need any more support, then note them down or contact your advisor if you need some support before your next session or appointment with us. It's also worth mentioning that you can come and join any of our coffee and chat sessions if there's anything you want to explore more of around this topic, bring up with other pregnant people, then come and join in our sessions and we can have a chat and see what comes up. You're always welcome to those sessions. So just ask your healthier pregnancy advisor when the next one is, and yeah, they can send you the link to join. There are also some useful links here that can expand on some of the areas and topics that we've covered today a little bit further. If you need anything specific at all, do reach out to your healthy pregnancy advisor or midwife. Thank you. Bye.